Hello, viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I am C. Pal Singh, speaking from NISSMAT platform today. We are going to present to you the territory and tales of Arunachal Pradesh. I have with me Major General D.K. Mehta, the other speaker, who is a third generation officer of the army. He is a postgraduate in defense studies from Madras University and has seen active operations both in J&K as well as in the as a mountain div general. He commanded infantry brigade during Operation Prakarma and mountain division, as I mentioned to you subsequently. He raised the first information cell of the army. After that, he has been associated and has been in the training establishment of the Madras Indian Army Academy, as well as War Training College. Before we go into the subject in detail, let me give a little introduction about the subject. Arunachal Pradesh is also called the land of the rising sun, or we can call it as a land of dawnlit mountains. This particular state now, Union Territory, has lot of tales, lot of traditions. Gradually, with the passage of time, it has now become a Union Territory, and those tales and history of the cultural history of Arunachal Pradesh has become something like a myth. That means that it has a transition from myth to reality, I would call it. Now there we are in the real world, and they are also law-abiding citizens of a democracy, while earlier they were basically depending on myths, and their traditions were in terms of superstition and spiritual endeavors with them. Now, tales of transition, however, should not let us forget about the soul of this beautiful state. With these words, I now request General Deepak Mehta to take over and proceed with his deliberation. General Deepak Mehta, please.
Thank you, sir. So before I proceed, I first want to introduce Mr. C. Pal Singh, who is the president of NISSMAT. Mr. C. Pal Singh joined the Central Police Service in 1962. He underwent the initial training at the Central Police Training College at Mount Abu. He is also an alumni of the prestigious National Police Academy at Hyderabad, from where he completed his advanced police course and has served as senior police appointment in various states in India under the Government of India. With the Government of India, he was made responsible to raise a new force, that's the Rapid Action Force, to deal with the communal riots. And he was appointed the first chief of the elite force, that's the Rapid Action Force. In recognition of his outstanding performance during his service, he was decorated with President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services, Indian Police Medal for Meritorious Services, Police Special Duty Medal and Bar, that is, he got it twice. Sena Medal, that's an Army Award, and a number of other commendations and rewards in his service. After retirement, he was conferred with the prestigious award of the Security Personality of the Year by the President of India in the Global Security Conference. Presently, he is the advisor, Asian Professional Security Association, India chapter, Honorary Director General of Central Association of Private Security Industry, that's CAPSI. And he's also associated with the APDI, that's Association of Private Detectives and Investigators India. Now, as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, it extends from Bhutan in the west to Myanmar in the east, and towards the south, a state of Assam. It has 5 basic divisions in Arunachal Pradesh. They are the Subansiri division, which is the upper and the lower Subansiri, Siang division, which is the east and west Siang, Debang Valley, Lohit Valley, and Keming district. Now coming down to the problems in Arunachal Pradesh, we have a very acute problem with China. And that is along the border, which is not demarcated. As the history goes, 1913-1914, there was a convention held in Shimla, wherein Mr. Henry McMahon called the reps of both Tibet and China to demarcate between Tibet and the area to the south of it. In that, he drew a line along the watershed or the ridge line extending from east of Bhutan right up to the border with Myanmar, which is about 890 kilometers long. It was taken as the outer Tibet and the inner Tibet. The outer Tibet is what is presently the autonomous region of Tibet. He drew a line which was known as the McMahon line. Now, the Chinese rep at that point in time, this line was shown on a map with a very small scale. And as a result, it was not very clear. The Chinese representative who was there, he initialed on the map. But when he went back, the Chinese government did not agree to this McMahon line. They started claiming that lower Tibet, inner Tibet, also the part of it, which was not accepted by India because, or the British India at that point in time. They said that as far as the outer Tibet is concerned, it will be controlled by the Dalai Lama under the control of China. So that is the problem which has been going on since independence. Chinese are claiming Arunachal, which is part of India. In 1950, in 2023, the McMahon line has been accepted as the boundary between Tibet, China, and India by the United States of America, sir. So internationally, it is a recognized line. And there is no doubt Arunachal Pradesh is part of India.
But there have been efforts on the part of China to claim a part of the Arunachal, not entire Arunachal. That means close to the Tibet area they are claiming. Am I correct?
You're right, sir. They actually wanted to claim Tawang. Tawang at one point in time was a taxpayer to Lhasa. But Tawang is to the south of the McMahon line. So it is well within India. It is not in outer Tibet. So they can claim anything. Now, as a matter of fact, they started changing names of places in a Tibet, that is Arunachal Pradesh, which does not stand scrutiny internationally, sir.
Oh, I see.
And this dispute, what is happening in between China and India, has, both the sides have deployed large number of troops. There have been instances in the past where there have been clashes, but now with this, now with the communication between the two sides, there is a lot of tranquility on the border. But yes, sir, as far as Bhutan is concerned, Chinese do have a little problem in Bhutan, northern Bhutan. There is a pass known as Tremala. To the east of Tremala, the Chinese are claiming certain areas, but we should not get involved with that. It is between Bhutan and China. Bhutan is very clear that this portion is their part of the border and not with China. So I think there is also status quo as far as Bhutan is concerned. Chinese, if you see in the past, have sorted out the problems with Myanmar. The only problem which is remaining is with India along the LAC or the McMahon line. Now I think efforts are being made to delimit the area and carry out certain amount of survey to sort out this problem, sir.
Anything else you want to elaborate on the territorial claims, etc.?
Sir, territorial claim, the basic claim is Tawang, which we are not accepting. About 2 years back or a year and a half back, they tried coming onto the Yangtze ridgeline, which they were pushed back. Had they come onto the Yangtze ridgeline, they would have had a very deep observation right up to the Sela Pass. So our surveillance systems are pretty good. We got intimation that these fellows are about to come, and they were pushed back from Yangtze also. Otherwise, there will be no major clash as of now along the McMahon line, sir. So, would you like to talk about the administration?
Yeah, I'll just mention, this is all about the territorial claim and the borders, etc. I'd like to come in and inform the viewers that Arunachal Pradesh was called the NIFA, Northeast Frontier Agency. Northeast Frontier Agency, it was earlier called, not Arunachal Pradesh. And the Indian Frontier Administrative Service. Indian Frontier Administrative Service was at that time introduced in Arunachal Pradesh to administer and primarily manage the internal affairs and administration in Arunachal Pradesh. Most of the officers from the Indian Frontier Administrative Service, that is IFAS, were either army officer or some other civil officers who had served in Arunachal Pradesh. The idea was that this service, that is IFAS, may be constituted or should be constituted of the people who have earlier served in this area and know something about the area. That is how the Indian Frontier Administrative Service was formed. When I was in Arunachal Pradesh, in 60s, that is a little later than this service was abolished, the IAS cadre was introduced later when the Indian Administrative Service was abolished. The the central control, however, continued. But the service was changed. That is, the regular cadre of IAFS and the police service officer was introduced. Now, Arunachal Pradesh has come a long way. That is, it was a state of myths, spirits, and it was a state which believed more in spiritual things, more in natural things, rather than the direct administration, direct concepts which are available in other parts of the country. From myths to modern India, there are a lot of stories which can be recalled,
Yes.
and very interesting stories. Till NIFA came to a statehood is a long journey, and this journey I will call a journey from legend to law. It was really a legendary sort of thing, and now it has become a legal entity with a lot of laws, regulation, as it is in most other union territory states. I like to relate or retell to the viewers some of these interesting tales which I learned also during my tenure in Arunachal Pradesh. It was quite a surprise to me. Now, there is a headhunting in Arunachal Pradesh, used to be headhunting. The practice of headhunting existed historically among some tribal communities, mainly as a ritual. It was not actually meant for sort of criminality. Headhunting was not associated with criminality and to kill somebody as a criminal. It was associated with the tribal community as a ritual linked to their bravery, to their warfare expertise, and to their social status, not criminality. Key tribes historically associated with hard hunting were the Nocte tribe from Tirap district, the Wanchu tribe from Longding district, and the Naishi tribe from central Arunachal Pradesh near Subansiri division. The Naishis were earlier called Daflas. Headhunting was believed to bring the spiritual powers to that village. The more the headhunting you have, the more the head skulls you have with you as trophies, the more you feel it has had the more spiritual powers. It was considered headhunting as a method of bringing fertility and protection to that village where the skulls were brought. The praxis declined gradually till the British period and was completely abundant somewhere in 60s. But when I went in 60s, these tales were still there and people were talking about headhunting. You'll be surprised to know that today these tribes are peaceful tribes. These headhunters are peaceful tribes.
Absolutely.
They are culturally rich communities. And headhunting only survives in the folklore, in the symbols, in the festivals of these communities. Headhunter turned out to be the guardians of that tribe. Once they were feared for headhunting, now they are remembered only those stories, but they are no longer having any sort of intimidation on their villages. The display of human skull, I had to visit one village, and one of the headman of that village took me to his place. He has number of human skulls, trophies in his drawing room or his sitting room. Some other tribes of Arunachal Pradesh also display human skulls in their houses. In fact, it is considered also as a historical ritual with lot of significance. These skulls as trophies from the headhunting tales are considered a matter of pride for those people who are possessing these skulls with them. Now, old houses still display these skulls as symbols of strength, and now they are only sort of, warned that headhunting does not mean only that you indulge in violence. The headhunting is only a sort of bravery, a social custom, and now it symbolizes that you have that strength, you had that strength. So this is a very interesting feature that when you go somebody's house, some of the skulls are still as we depict some heads of the lions or tigers, etc., in certain living Maharajas and all. Similarly, the heads of human heads, skulls, I mean, the human skulls are there. I myself saw these skulls. Initially, I was surprised. No, normally we see these skulls are there somewhere in graveyards and other places in India. But these skulls are exhibited in the sitting room as their trophies. The second interesting tale is about the tattoos. You know, nowadays tattoos on your hands and all is done by us. Most of the modern generation people are having tattoos here and there. Now, these tattoos were very, very popular among the Apatani tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. Now, what happened was that most of these tattoos were having on the facial, on the cheeks, on the forehead, etc. And mostly this tattooing were done on the women. Now, why the tattoos were inscribed on them? The Apatani women are traditionally regarded as exceptionally beautiful and graceful women, which made them vulnerable to raids by certain tribes, particularly the Dafla tribe. Now it is known as Naishis. Now they were known, to carry away Arunachal women by force during inter-tribe conflicts. Once they won over or had a dominance over that tribe, they'll take away the Apatani women with them. And Apatani society then evolved gradually the practice of disfiguring the faces of their women folk, of the girls. This tattooing was actually, it started as to disfigure the beauty, but now it has become a symbol of beauty. Then there are also tales which speak of Apatani women altering their appearance not only with tattoos, but with huge nose plugs to save themselves from the raids. Beauty, strength, and ultimate survival. Apatani women mark their faces with these tattoos, not for ornamentation, not as a sort of putting powder or some cream on them, but for their safety. Each line of the tattoo, I tell you, sir, tells a story of resistance on the part of these Apatanis. It tells a story of their dignity, and it tells a story of their survival in the harsh world of the intertribal rivalries at that time.
Correct. Absolutely.
Another tale which is very interesting to know, which I came across when I visited some of the tribes, that is Opong. Opong is a rice beer, a sort of rice beer. It's a traditional rice beer of Arunachal Pradesh and is offered in almost all social and religious festivities. The rice beer, or the Opong as they call it, symbolizes the hospitality actually of the community. And it also symbolizes the respect of the guest who is coming here. It also conveys a sort of community bonding. Guests invited to any ceremony are customarily expected to are expected to accept the and partake of bhang. Refusing to drink is traditionally seen as a discourteous or inauspicious. When I visited some of the posts, and if there were some ceremonies, I had to, irrespective of whether I was taking a drink or not, I had to take a few drops of that and share this rice beer with them so as to seed a sort of friendship with them as an officer who was there only to administer the police administration in certain outposts. Now, the alliances actually, and even the feuds between the tribes ended sometime only with a drink together. This is considered also as a drink of trust, I will call it. To share upon was to share peace. Refusing it meant refusing friendship. And many feuds actually also commenced and ended with sharing a peg of opang. This interesting thing about this beer, rice beer. Then there is a story that is when you travel in a village, you have to stop in the village. Sometimes, our outposts were at a distance of, say, 8 or 10 feet from your headquarters, 8 or 10 days from your headquarters. So you have to pass through some other villages. That is, in those villages, we had IBs, some posts created by IB for your temporary stay for a few hours and then proceed further. Now, in many traditional villages of Arunachal Pradesh, is a customary law which requires travelers to remain in the village till all the rituals of the deceased are over. Now, departure is prohibited from that village. Rituals, mournings, ceremonies are completed in the presence of the guest who is there. This belief is rooted in respect for the deceased, actually, and the world of spirits, I would call it. They believed in that nature, that it becomes a spirit. So in the world of spirit, leaving prematurely is thought to bring misfortune and spiritual imbalance to that village. Therefore, travelers are expected to share the collective period of mourning with these villages. At times we had to stay for 5 or 6 days in a village where death had occurred till their ceremonies were over. Another very interesting tale, and actual what happened was that covering the body, an Arunachal tribe, normally, traditionally, many of tribes of Arunachal Pradesh used to have bamboo strips. There's a strip, if you cut the bamboo, it becomes into two center. So that strip or the leaves or the bark was used to cover their sexual nakedness. The men normally go about otherwise without any clothes because clothing is required minimum for them so that they are able to adapt to the humid climate and forest environment. Most of the body otherwise remained uncovered, allowing ease of their movements. But the sexual nakedness was covered by the men by this sort of bamboo strips and leaves. As far as the women were concerned, most of the women, in addition to beads, used ornaments and body decorations like certain woven cloth or certain significant garment which are used in their tradition. By and large, they never bothered about their sexuality as such because they are absolutely open. And there's nothing wrong in going about in that, except that with the passage of time, they have now starting having the weaving of cloth, etc. there, and they've started covering. But it was an interesting feature when we went to the interior that most of the men and the women were almost going about without any clothes, and only their bare nakedness was covered by these barks, by these leaves, by ornaments, or by beads, and such other things. So it is a very significant fact, a significant tale in the history of Arunachal Pradesh. Another very interesting tale which actually happened there, which was told to us, and in certain places I had to go and see those. They are called use of dormitories. We use dormitories as it is in our uh, army, in police, and even in the hostels. Dormitories are meant for staying together. Now, in several traditional tribes of Arunachal Pradesh, men and women stayed together in a communal dormitory. Now you say men separately, women again, something is coming back probably. But there, right from the beginning, these dormitories allowed men and women to stay together in such sort of harmony as a part of their social life. These dormitories were often known as morangs or youth houses, particularly. I mean, they were used by older ladies and men also, but particularly the youth houses they were called. They function as centers also for association, learning, and also sort of liking each other, proposing then ultimately, and getting married also. They also served many a time as places for drama, songs, dance, etc. Living together was regulated to a great extent by customary norm. Living together, men and women, boys and girls, was however regulated in these dormitories by customary norms. Not, I will say, not not a promiscuous sort of behavior. It was elders indirectly supervise their behavior and enforce certain social rules. Yet, dormitories were very popular and are remembered as places where courage, restraint, traditions, values of social life, values of tribal lives are taught uh, are learned and taught. So this was a concept of dormitories which is now gradually vanishing. Then I like to say a few words about the tales of the streams there in Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh, as you know, sir, have many streams and rivers. They appear very shallow. Apparently, you can probably see the ground itself of the stream is so shallow. But they're very fast flowing. They are extremely dangerous, you see, to cross. They are having steep gradients, from the Himalayas, which cause water to move with a great force. Even ankle deep water at times, if you want to cross, can at times knock down a person from his balance. Even only ankle deep water stream you cross, the force of the water is such that it's a shake your balance. River beds are very rocky, very uneven, and increasingly risky of slipping down. Now, sudden upstream rainfall somewhere can cause flash floods without your knowing, without your warning. We have to be very careful when crossing this stream. I'll tell you in one case, one group of some armed forces was getting through it, and a group of 6-7 people, they lost their balance and their weapons, the rifles were just left there, and they had to go a little upstream and then collect the weapons, downstream and then collect the weapons. But it was a very, very difficult process.
Very difficult.
It's a very difficult process, sir. There are hanging bridges and all, and there's strong undercurrents of water, which can pull away your feet unexpectedly. Now, traditional route relied on are on log bridges, as you know, and they actually call it natural crossings. The modern bridges were introduced only in the later half, lately, to reduce loss of life. Local knowledge remains critical and crucial for crossing these rivers. We had to have a local knowledge before. And another very important factor, an interesting factor, the many feel that these flowing rivers have some spirits that demand respect before you cross over them.
Absolutely.
People believe, some tales go, that the rivers have some spirits in them. These fast flowing rivers are housing some spirits, and these spirits demand respect before you cross them. Now, rivers in Arunachal Pradesh are not crossed, as you know, casually. They are believed to test. They are believed to. I mean, the belief was there that these rivers test the arrogance and sort of high-handedness of the people who cross them, because they are crossing over a spirit. Many travelers learned this lesson. Many travelers learned the lesson of humility at the banks of these rivers. So this is a very interesting tale. Many of us, we learned the lesson of humility at the banks of these rivers. These are the stories of these rivers which are there. That's a, and I'll touch one feature before you take over. You see, earlier, most of the tribes had a nature worship. But the administration gradually started feeling that to bring better control and sort of unity without disturbing the traditional practice of prayer to the nature should be brought about. It was decided that we should have some temples inside. And in Arunachal Pradesh, I saw myself, sir, one disc in along district headquarters of Sumasri. The disc had on one side it had sun, the other side it had moon facially. This is they call Doneo temples. Now this disc was installed in along districts, and a huge big temple has been brought up there. It is linked to spiritual revival of the old, that is Dono. You pray, no doubt you pray to sun, you pray to moon, but there is some concrete thing before you, and you go to the temple and pray, which means a sort of intertribal unity and better administration. It is very interesting to narrate one told, which is one tale, that how it inspired to have this disc. Some of the administrative officers, when they decided to have temples, along with the village badas or gaon badas or tribal chief, they went to visit Sai Baba Ashram in South India. Sai Baba Ashram, in the Sai Baba Ashram, Sai Baba was explained by the administration the requirement of a something. We should reflect their, we should reflect their belief of having puja both to the sun and moon. Lo and behold, this was brought about by a divine method or whatever it is, and this was given to the villagers, village baras and administrative officers, and this was kept in the house of deputy commissioner of along for pretty long time to gradually wean over the people that this is not necessary that you just go to the sun and moon only. You do there, but we are going to have a huge big temple here, and the Donopero temple has been created, has been constructed in along. This led to a very organized worship space for the sun and moon, which is belief, also going by the belief system and also having a symbol of temple. So there are a lot of traditional methods of spirituality which have been merged with the modern religious expression and other thing. I am of the view that has been the soul of Arunachal Pradesh. We may have changed, may have brought about a lot of changes, but I am of the view that the soul of Arunachal Pradesh should not be forgotten totally. Then, Mehta, you may please discuss further about the difficulties and approach and visits outposts due to difficult terrain, leeches, etc.
So before I do that, I just want to bring out certain more aspects of certain tribes which I have encountered. I've had 2 tenures in Arunachal, sir. This Adi tribe has been considered as the most democratic tribe in terms of in the village community. The Mishmari tribe consider tigers as the brothers and they don't hunt them. The Mompas, which are in the area of Kemeng district, I was very closely associated with Mompas in my tenure there. They are very good at making tankas. And Sardak Pen, very colorful people. I remember one gentleman, Sardak Pen, he used to come on his horse, wearing a hat and all sort of trinkets and with bells on him. And all the children used to line up when he went past. And he was very happy he would meet them. So as far as superstition is concerned, I want to bring out one more factor.
I see.
Usually at the junction of Arunachal Pradesh, Bhutan, and Tibet, there are 2 villages known as Bhuri and Bleating. Since I was a sub-sector commander in that area, I thought I'd go and make a visit to them.
I see.
So as per the customs, I was carrying a bottle of rum. I said I'd hand it over to them. En route, I met an old ex-serviceman. He asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Bhuri Bleating. He says, you're carrying only 1 bottle of rum? I said, yes. He said, carry 2. Give 1 bottle to them and keep 1 bottle for yourself. And do not accept a drink which has been given to them, given by them to you. You have your drink out of your own bottle. I said, why? He said, the customs and traditions of Bhuri Bleating is they look after the guests very well, but they add something in the drink and the guest is supposed to die. And they believe that the spirit of the dead person becomes a protector for the family. I said, thanks for the advice. So these sort of traditions are there, sir. Now, coming down to the temples, the Tawang Gompa is the 2nd largest temple in in Lhasa. It has a Rinpoche. And when we were there, we just camping below the Gompa. There were about 500 children in that monastery. So I asked the Rinpoche there, I said, "Itne bache hai, how are you managing them?" He said the tradition in this area is that 1 child of the family becomes a monk. So these are the budding monks in times to come. And they will get a full-fledged school used to be running for those chaps. And I said, what about the girls? He said, girls also, they're known as Anis. They had another monastery about a kilometer away from Tawang Gompa. And they were known as Ani Gompa. And there were young girls there, but they all used to get around together during Losar. That's the New Year's of the Tibetans. So these areas have very specific, interesting tales to tell. And but times have changed, sir.
You're right. I like to add one thing, you see, and you come to change time and change terrain also to some extent. You see, when we had to go to a post from one place to other, we had to cross through the jungles or forests or whatever you may call it. Because on foot, mostly it was on foot. So hardly at times we could get a sortie, which sortie was going to take ration to a post, and that sortie will just drop the ration stay there for a few minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and come back to the base headquarters. It was going, most of the sorties were going from Mohanbadi. Now, some of the senior officers used to manage that when a sortie is going, they request them that we want to visit a post which is otherwise 21 days from what particular headquarter. March, 21 days March. So sometimes if you are a fast traveler, you may be able to cover it in 10 days, 12 days, but never less than 12 days. 21 days was also one of the posts. But you had to pass through the jungle. And in the jungle, you are covering your legs with the proper pattis over them, as the army is worn the pattis and all. And then when you go there and come back after visit, back to your headquarters, when those pattis were removed by your batman, a lot of blood used to ooze out of from your lower legs.
Correct.
Because the leeches will still sneak into it and suck the blood. And in many cases, many of the officers had these marks, blue and black marks, even after coming back from Arunachal for days or months together, till the veins rejuvenated and it became all right. So there were so difficult a terrain, sir, that it was very difficult even to go and visit your post. Either you go by sorties, Russian sorties, or you get, of course, sucked your blood by the leeches and the other blood-sucking the thing. Today they say the terrain has lot of roads. Can you give a little idea that the headquarters, the governor's house, and all is laid down with the beautiful roads and territories in having roads everywhere. Most of the places, I mean, not everywhere. What do you say about it?
So, traveling that time was not that easy. It would take anything up to 2 days to reach the forward localities. And as you mentioned, very fast flowing streams, one could not cross. There were suspension bridges made of wood. Actually, when you moved on the suspension bridge is like a swing. It was a swing all the way. So at best, only 2 to 3 chaps could cross at a time. They were leeches. They were difficult terrain. There were only foot tracks and maybe some animal AT tracks, animal transport tracks. But now things have changed. The roads have come up, billets have come up. The transportation is much, much better. I think very good as compared to the earlier times. I had gone down to Itanagar about a year back, and I saw the development which has taken place there. And I asked the head of the government there, I said, what about the other areas? He said the other areas are as good as what is Itanagar is.
Oh, I see.
So tremendous development has taken place in Arunachal. And you see, even the students now, the education right up to the the population centers, and a very large number of children who have moved out of Arunachal to study either in Assam or Meghalaya. So that you see the minister in our parliament, Kiran Rijiju, he is also from Arunachal. Very well spoken, very articulate. So times have changed in terms of infrastructure development and also education. And I'm very sure, and it'll be as developed as any other state of a country, sir.
I'll conclude with a few words. I agree with you that lot of development, as we say in the language of today, that is, infrastructure has come up, roads have come up, airports have also come up at one or two. Itanagar has an airport also, I understand. So, but all this has come up. We appreciate. But we must remember, even today, as well as the environments are concerned, as far as the sunrise is concerned, the sunlight in Arunachal, bright sunlight, is there before the rest of India gets up. Well, by about, say, we call 3 o'clock or so in the early morning, there's a bright sunlight in Arunachal Pradesh. And the folklore of Arunachal says, the sun comes and blesses the land. It also protects this land from invaders. It is, the waking up of the tribal. Obviously, when 3 o'clock in the morning is a bright sunlight, they start their work according to our after midnight. Our midnight means at about 2 o'clock, and their twilight is at dawn. My sunshine is about 3 o'clock. So my submission is that before the rest of the country wakes up, there's a sun. It comes and blesses the land of the rising sun itself. That's what it calls. It blesses the land, which mountains are lit by dawn in the morning. It blesses the villages and the tribals, simple tribals living there. In the process of development, in the process of laying down the roads and other infrastructure, we should not forget about the soul of Arunachal Pradesh, the simplicity of the people, and the folklore which are there. It should be forming a sort of historical manual. Their clothes, their wearing, their folklore. And I am of the view that the sun blesses them, and obviously the land is protected from evil eyes. With these words, I'd like to thank you, General, for having come here with us and shared your experiences. And I thank the viewer to be with us all this time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.